I don't know if you're watching on YouTube, so you can see me. Well, that's the idea of YouTube. By the way, subscribe to my YouTube. I think I'm looking thinner. I think my double chin. Look, the double chin is still there. Look, I'm not Alfred Hitchcock. It's not that bad. Sometimes you get men with three chins. Yeah, I think it's going down. Tell me what you think. Yes. No, you can comment. I got a strange comment. On YouTube. Um, I, for some reason, the comments, the comment ability or the comment functionality on the last two episodes doesn't work, and I can't for the life of me work it out how to make the. So somebody comments on an old episode. Damon, we can't comment on your latest episodes. So I say to her, let's call her Claire for argument's sakes. I say, okay, it was Claire. Claire's the one who she's leaning towards the vaccine. Thank you, Claire. She says, so I say to her, well, just comment on an old episode. So she says, I must comment on this episode but Claire, you've just commented on an old episode, telling me you can't comment on the new. It's the same thing. It's not so terrible. It's not so bad. It's not like she says, I've got important things to say. She says, believe me, Claire. Anyway, thank you, Claire. See, this is where the customer comes first. You've got to be so, even when someone is like Claire, you've got to be nice. And I've been doing this lately with my perfume business. I've been so nice. People send in an order, and I used to just ignore them. I mean, I would still process their order. I would still do their order. But I didn't know you. I wasn't responding. Hi there. Thank you very much for your order. We're working on it as soon as possible. That's what I started doing. I've become a nicer person. And I've been wrong. I admit it. Bernice was very angry with me that I wasn't communicating with the customers. And she's right. And you got to think like a customer. You got to think like a customer. You feel special if your service provider has responded. It's nice. You don't want to be ignored. That's the way I see it. Two stories that grabbed my attention. President Biden, American President Biden, he's raising the cap to 125,000 refugees to settle in America for the next 12 months. Well, that's the least you can do, Joe Biden. In fact, why stop at 125? You should take in every single refugee. Because if one had to do a study, you would find that American foreign policy and American activity around the world is probably responsible for 85% or 90%, or at least, of all refugees. Even if it's something that's happening where America's got nothing to do with now. It's something you did 20 years ago. America, you've been involved in the DRC, please. DRC even. You know. Come on. America, you're a big country. You're one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Take in all the refugees. Come on. So it's the right thing to do. God, imagine if I tried to be a politician and nobody would vote for me. I would lose. They wouldn't like me. I'm too nice. I'm too left wing. Left wing has become a swear word these days. But the whole world is going towards the right. We're just repeating history to a degree. I mean, we're not. The world is not becoming Nazi Germany, but we're leaning towards there. Imagine if Hitler had social media. Imagine if Adolf Hitler had Twitter and Facebook in 1934. World War II would have started in 1934. And we'd all be speaking German, and I wouldn't be here. No, there would be no Jewish people, no homosexuals, no black people. Gone. You must watch the miniseries. It's on Amazon, The Man in the High Castle. It's based on a very good book, The Man in the High Castle. You must watch it. Very, very good. Try get Amazon. 60 Rand a month. You can afford it. And then speaking of countries with a bad history, I don't like what's happening. I don't know about you, but I don't like what's happening in Rwanda. Well, I know a couple that have moved to Rwanda. They with their two young kids, and Rwanda on the surface, nice country, but apparently they noticed very homophobic country, and things are very strange. You remember that movie Hotel Rwanda, based on that hotelier Paul Rusesabagina? Rusesabagina. He saved like 1,200 people during the 1994 Rwandan genocide, kept them in his hotel, protected them. He's been sentenced to 25 years in jail on terrorism charges. Can you believe it? And it's all bull. It's all made up, because he is a fierce critic of the current president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. Paul Kagame. Terrible, terrible, terrible. You know, when the genocide happened in Rwanda, so 15, 20 years later, the media painted Rwanda as this wonderful success story. Look how they've recovered so nicely from the genocide. And they got the best internet in Africa, or one of the best internets in Africa. They got one of the strongest economies, one of the biggest, fastest growing economies. But you know what? The way I see it, I took it with a pinch of salt, because for something like that genocide, where 1 million people were murdered in 1994, for that to have happened, there must be some underlying, like, insidious problem with the society. There has to be. It can't just be, oh yeah, we wiped out 1 million people 20 years ago, but it's a lovely country now. It's the same like South Africa. South Africa, almost the same story. On the surface, our constitution, brilliant, wonderful. But our country's still got major problems. We're not going to go into it now. Yeah. So some deaths over the weekend, which I forgot to mention, and I feel, I mean, you can't. How can I forget? Well, I didn't forget. The mention of the new mayor of Johannesburg, barely the mayor of Johannesburg for a couple of weeks. Jolly D. Matongo died in a car accident, and when I saw it on Twitter, I got such a shock. Can I be honest with you? Hadn't even learnt his name yet. I don't learn politicians' names straight away, because who knows? Do you know a little thing? I didn't really know that the previous mayor of Joburg, I didn't know him. I didn't know his name either, to be honest. Jeff Makubo. I mean, he passed. He died of COVID-19. I never knew his name either, to be honest. So the latest development is that chances are they're not going to elect a new Joburg mayor for now, because it's just over a month away from local elections. So there's too much going on. That's the story. And then somebody else passed away. I've seen the name. I didn't know him. I've always known of him. Ivor Sarakinski. And judging by all the messages on social media and all the articles, he was obviously a really wonderful, special person. Ivor Sarakinski, highly intelligent academic, political analyst, philosopher, everything. Wonderful person. And he died of a heart attack. He looked like he was in his 60s, maybe. And, when somebody special like that dies, and I'm sorry, okay, that's not to say Joladi Matongo wasn't special and Jeff Makubo weren't special. Okay, they were. But Ivor Sarakinski, academic, maybe, okay, I'm biased, I don't know. It's all about perception. Look, it's just when people like that pass away, I wouldn't call it survivor's guilt, but you kind of feel like, I'm still alive. But then maybe it's a kind of like a signal to yourself. You're still alive. That guy's passed away, no longer. He was doing amazing stuff. If you've survived, it's your responsibility to make something of your life. Do better things. And just knocked my tea Luckily, it was empty. I drank my tea. So, that's the way. That's another way of looking at it. You're still alive. Take this opportunity. Other people have died. How about that? That's my theory. Just a bit of feedback. Well, I don't know if this is really okay. This is not feedback as such. I've mentioned this before, but I think I want to go into it a little bit, maybe a little bit in more detail. So I've got a Facebook page, but I made this Facebook page long time ago. I think in Facebook came before Twitter, so it must have been 2008 or 2007. I can't remember. I would accept friends, anybody, people that I don't even know. I just accept, because I was in radio and I want people, it's for publicity reasons, publicize the radio show, publicize myself, and it's just carried on like that. I've just carried on accepting friends. And lately with this podcast, I've got quite an upsurge of friend requests, and I just accept them all, because they are potential listeners, and I advertise and I publicize this podcast on Facebook. But here's the phenomenon, and I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. I have people, I friend them on Facebook, and I don't know them at all. And they immediately start contacting me on the messenger. Hello, how are you? Hey, hi. And it's everybody you can think of. There's no particular demographic. Males, females, whites, blacks, Indians, Southeast Asia, Indian, American, European, fat, thin, across the board. People want to talk. I don't think it's me only. I think you probably experience the same thing. What is the psychology of it? What is it? Do they not understand that Facebook friends is not a real friend? I friend people on Facebook for the reasons I've mentioned, and perhaps if you're not in the media and you're just a private individual, you're probably more discerning on who you accept. But it's also, you might friend people that you don't know because they might have interesting articles to share, interesting stories to share. That's other reasons. I will not start a conversation with anybody. I just won't. Unless it's somebody I know. Unless somebody sends me a message and asks me a specific question or says something specific. Hello, Damon. I think I went to school with your brother. Or, hello, Damon. I like your podcast. When did you start it? Or where can I find your podcast? Damon, what's the recipe for your mother's spaghetti bolognese? I will respond to that. Definitely. But, hello, how are you? What? I'm not talking to you. I think, I'm sorry to say this, sometimes I get judgmental. If you start talking to these people, I think there's something wrong with you. What, are you lonely? Are you that lonely? I'm not that lonely, trust me. I do not feel the need to talk to strangers. What? I'm not a big conversationalist, except on this podcast. I'm not going to start having a conversation with somebody I don't know from a bar of soap. No, not at all. Wow. And why do people send me? Why do you want to talk to me? I'm not talking to you. I'm not. I think I'm normal. I think that's normal behavior. Then now this takes us to the next category of people who reach out. Now this category I can actually understand. I can actually appreciate. It's actually more normal. The young ladies who are looking for blessers. They could be sex workers, like real sex workers. They could be women who are students and they're looking for. That's a big phenomenon. That is I can understand that you're looking for somebody to support you, give you money, pay for your rent, help you. You're barking up the wrong tree. You're barking up the wrong tree. What do you think? What do you think I am? Even if I was single, no wife, no child, single, and as horny as ever. You're barking up the wrong tree. Who's got the time? Who's got the energy? What? Am I the only one that you are trying to contact? I'm going to have sex with you. Who knows who else you're seeing? And even if it's safe sex with condoms and whatever, it's still, it's not appealing. I'm not the only one you're having sex with. Come on. Ugh. And say I am single and horny as ever, and what, I'm 50 years old, you're 24, 25. We do the deed, now then I've got to talk to you afterwards? What am I going to say to you? How's school? How's varsity? So how old are your parents? So what do your parents do for a living? No. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. But it's obviously a big thing. There's obviously there's a lot of men on Facebook that are accepting these women and yeah. Otherwise, there's supply and demand. There wouldn't be all these women trying to contact me if it wasn't working. It's obviously working to some degree. But here's another one that's also really weird. I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa. I have these women in America, and they're in the army, or they're in North Carolina, or they're in the army in Afghanistan. They're contacting me. What are you going to do? Huh? What am I starting? Are you going to send me your panties? What? Are we going to have phone sex? What? Am I sending you money? No. Anyway, it's just odd. It's just odd. It's quite a thing. Anyway, maybe I'm coming across as naive. This is something I've been wanting to mention for quite a while, because I did a thing where I did what is called a Facebook boost. Facebook has been draining me and cop, nagging me for over a year they want to give me a 90 Rand free credit to advertise my podcast. Eventually I took them on it. I did the 90 Rand credit. Boom! Yo! Suddenly the friend requests 10 times over, 10 times more. And there you go. And there you have it. And then what did I do? I myself haven't sent friend requests for quite a while. Thought myself, you know what? This Facebook, if you do a bit of advertising, you can boost your listenership a bit. So I sent a whole lot of friend requests yesterday. A lot of people came back to me. Those people as well, they want to talk to me. I reached out. I sent friend requests. Those people also want to have conversations. Huh? Anyway, again, it's okay if it's something of some substance. Damon, like it's a question, or Damon, where did I find your podcast? Damon, that makes more sense. One of the big stories over the weekend that grabbed my attention, and I'm sure you also saw it. How many protesters, anti-vaccine protesters, did you see on that video that went around in Sea Point with their placards? Can I say easily maybe 500 people in that video? Is it safe to say at least 500 people? There might have been more, I think. And this whole anti-vaxxer, they call it, I don't know where they get the word vaxxer. To me, they're anti-vaccine people. Okay, they're anti-vaxxers. They're not just anti-vaxxers, they're anti-mask as well. Sure. I've been thinking about it for quite a while. It's one of the main topics in the world. This frustration and this phenomenon of people being anti-vaccine, people anti the virus. Some people don't believe that the virus exists. There's a bit of a mix. Some people, they believe in the virus, but they don't believe in the vaccine. People that believe in the vaccine, but they don't believe you must force them to have the vaccine. People believe you must get the vaccine, but you shouldn't be allowed. There shouldn't be vaccine passports. So I wonder if there was a bit of confusion at the protest on Saturday, because you've got different categories and they're all protesting. Do they divide them into little different sections? Because there's I think the main core of the protesters, they're just anti-vaccine. I think they're all anti-vaccine. And then maybe there's somebody with their little sign who's pro-vaccine, but they don't want to be forced to have the vaccine. But they are pro-vaccine. But don't force me. And then there's a tiny little section on the side next to the, where the waves splash. So they can get wet because they're just like the little minority. Oh, excuse me. They believe in getting the vaccine, but they don't believe in vaccine passports. And they don't believe that you must be forced, but they believe in the vaccine. And do you think these protesters were like, I don't know, I got a feeling they're not that organized, and they're all just with their placards. And this kind of phenomenon, in my opinion, doesn't just come from nowhere. I think there are causes of this behavior. And it starts off, in my mind, I think a large core of these people are just general conspiracy theorists. So they've been conspiracy theorists their whole lives. They just don't believe anything. Everything is a conspiracy. You get people, everything is a conspiracy. And the thing is, it's like the boy who cried wolf, because there are certain things that have happened in our history that are conspiracies. I mean, in my mind, there's no doubt that the JFK assassination wasn't what the Warren Commission or what the government, the American government, said it was at the time. It's just not possible that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only shooter or the shooter at all. But then what happens is then people go off the rails and they think that everything is a conspiracy theory. That's the problem. And then they start believing aliens have visited us. And I'll give you an example. I know somebody, a friend of mine, she's one of these people. Remember the mass shooting in Los Angeles where 59 people were killed? They were attending a heavy metal concert or some concert, and a gunman from a hotel room with an automatic weapon, he killed 59 people. And at the time, I mentioned this to my friend of mine, oh, this is what happened. Her answer was, so you would be led to believe. So you'd be led to believe, Damon. So that didn't really happen. Who shot and killed those 59 people? Did that man in the hotel room get drugged? Was he hypnotized? Did somebody else do the shooting and his body was just dropped there? Why would somebody want to kill those 59 people? So that's the thing. A large core of the people are just general. They've always been conspiracy theorists. They don't believe anything. And it's very often, in some cases, it's a lot of people that haven't been successful in their lives. Things have not always worked out for them. So they need to blame somebody. There's something wrong with the system. That is why I'm where I am. That's like a conspiracy theory. But then, on the other side of the coin, you get highly successful, highly intelligent, highly educated people that believe in conspiracy theories. Because they develop this toxic arrogance. That's it. They develop this toxic arrogance that they think they know everything and they know better than everybody. That is the thing. That is the other category. And then now let's get onto the whole medical thing, because another large cause of that contributes to this group of that people who don't believe in the vaccine. Unfortunately, and I truly believe this. This is obviously just my opinion. Of course, this is my podcast. Oh, Damon, it's just your opinion, man. Well, obviously it's my opinion, man. But you know what? Sometimes opinions are correct. Sometimes opinions are wrong. Unfortunately, throughout in our history in the last 100 years or whatever, there have been medical conspiracies, unfortunately. Legitimate medical conspiracies that have actually been proven in a court of law. Classic case, back in the 70s or the 80s. The American Chiropractic Association. I might get the names of the organizations wrong, but the story still holds. The American Chiropractic Association took the medical association to court. They proved in a court of law that there was a purposeful conspiracy against the chiropractic profession, because chiropractic treatment for lower back pain is far more economically viable and more successful and better than any other medical treatment. It's been proved scientifically. So the medical profession had a concerted, conscious effort to smear and blacklist and make up propaganda stories and influence a whole negative movement towards the chiropractic profession. It was proved in a court of law. Then in America, and sadly, America's got this history of experimenting with untested drugs. They experimented with drugs on African Americans, on black Americans. So hence, that's created this huge hesitancy of the vaccine in America. And then that sentiment is probably also spread around the world. And that's just one little example. I'm not going to bore you to death, but homeopathy as well. I've used homeopathy on my dogs and it's worked. What, my dog's lying to me? I've used homeopathy. I've been to homeopaths. I've used homeopathy for various conditions. It's worked. But the medical profession will tell you that it's nonsense. It doesn't work. So there's a whole crowd of people that are aware of these conspiracies against natural medicine, chiropractic, various things. And that's created this cynicism against the vaccine. And it's insane, because just go back 100 years, vaccines have been around. It's not like this is a new thing. And there's other causes. It's such a plethora of causes. It's insane. So we are hiding to nothing. We can't escape this problem of people rejecting the vaccine. Biggest cause, Donald Trump fake news. Donald Trump was the American president. Him and Fox News and whatever other right-wing insane news people, right from the start, they downplayed the virus, they joked about masks, they never took it seriously, and that kind of sentiment and that kind of attitude spread throughout the world. That is a huge, huge factor. Huge, huge factor. And then lastly, social media. So the people with all these false narratives and absolute incorrect information, disinformation, are just free to spread it all over the internet, social media, like the virus. It's a virus itself, the way it spreads. And there's an organization in South Africa, which I've mentioned before, Panda. Panda, the main guy, Nick Hudson, he will post stuff that is completely incorrect. But he writes it, he puts it there with such confidence, with such arrogant confidence, that if you don't know any better, you think it's the truth. It's not the truth. So there, I've dragged you a cup. I hope I haven't. That's the situation. So when you come across anti-vaxxers, that's where it comes from. I hope I haven't been I hope I haven't been pontificating, and maybe you've thought of this yourself and you know this already. But I thought I want to get it out there. We're on a this is an uphill, slippery battle. We're not going to get rid of this virus because of this whole thing. We're not going to get rid of this virus ever. We're going to have booster shots every year. The economy, world economy in South Africa is just going to stay where it is, maybe get worse, and we're just going to hide into nothing. I hope I haven't depressed you, but I think maybe I've made sense of it all. Well, there's always a reason for things, and yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts.